With all the latest in the Northeast Conference here on the FCS Kickoff Show, I'm Matt Chabatari. Week 4 in the NEC brought with it upsets, collapses, and inevitable blowouts. On today's show, we preview all that happened in and around the NEC while previewing Week 5. It is hard to mention the Northeast Conference without talking about Coach Nofri's Sacred Heart Pioneers. With both the offensive and defensive players of the week in Week 4 and a 38-10 upset win on the road at number 24 Stony Brook, it is hard not to fall in love with everything the Pioneers have done here early on in the season. Sacred Heart at 4-0 are ranked number 27 in the Stats FCS 25 poll after the big win. Going into the game, the belief was that Sacred Heart would keep it close, but the number 24 ranked Stony Brook Seawolves would be too much to overcome in this one. With time winding down in the first half, the Pioneers defense forced a fumble to get the ball at midfield before senior kicker Alec Finney's field goal tied the game at 10 to end the half, the last time both teams were tied. Senior linebacker Kevin Berry led a strong Sacred Heart defensive performance as he finished with the day with 9 tackles, 2 for loss, and half a sack, and it was Berry's interception that put the exclamation point on this one. With his 44-yard interception return for a touchdown with 12:46 left in the fourth quarter, it put Sacred Heart up for good 38-10. After such a strong performance, Berry was named the NEC Defensive Player of the Week, the second time this year. It wasn't just Coach Mark Nofri's defense that won the day in this one, as senior quarterback RJ Noel led the way for the Pioneers offense. With 205 yards through the air with 1 passing touchdown and 55 yards on the ground with 2 rushing touchdowns, Noel was named the NEC Offensive Player of the Week. Combine that with 171 yards on the ground as a team, this was a well-rounded team effort that has Sacred Heart primed to win the NEC as they head into conference play. Week 5 brings with it another tough road matchup in the tri-state area as they open their Northeast Conference play at Wagner on Saturday. Looking across the field at the Wagner Seahawks, who are coming off a weekend trip to Boston where they took on Boston College. The Seahawks put an early scare in BC, going up 7-0 early in this one before BC rolled, winning 42-10 in a blowout. The offense couldn't get much of anything going after the first drive as they finished with less than 200 total yards of offense. At 2-1, Wagner heads into conference play already having doubled their win total from a season ago. Heading into their matchup with Sacred Heart, there are 2 keys for Wagner to win over what appears to be a more talented roster in Sacred Heart on Saturday. The first key will be to win the turnover margin in this one. It is going to be a big ask as Sacred Heart has the highest turnover margin in the conference early on in the season at +4. If Sacred Heart wins this battle, Wagner will have a rough go of it in this Northeast Conference opener. 2 of the men key in this effort for Wagner to force turnovers will be the linebacker Najee Harris, who looks to provide pressure off the edge on RJ Noel, and senior quarterback Tim Hayes, who has 2 INTs early on in the season, and looks to take advantage on the outside in this one. The second key will be junior running back Denzel Knight, who is 3rd in the conference in rushing yards. If this Wagner team looks to have some balance and success against such a stingy defense in Sacred Heart, Knight is going to have to do the impossible and put up over 100 yards on the ground in this one. If Knight can't eclipse 100 yards, it's going to be tough for the Seahawks to keep this game close in the second half. Heading over to the team at the top of the conference, it is none other than the Bryant Bulldogs, who are 1-0 in the NEC after 1 week and 2-2 overall. The Bulldogs' high-powered offense won the day in this one over Central Connecticut State 45-25 in Rhode Island. Bryant's senior quarterback Dalton Easton finished with 272 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 INT in this one as they got out to a 28-3 halftime lead before holding on late. After back-to-back second-half collapses, Coach Fine has to be much happier with the defensive effort in this one. Bryant travels up to Orono, Maine this week to take on Maine out of conference and look to move to 3-2 on the year. As for Central Connecticut State, they are on a bye week at 1-3 on the season and 0-1 in conference before their Week 6 matchup at Penn. Second half collapses seem to be the theme for St. Francis and Duquesne this past weekend. Duquesne, who seemed to be back on track with 2 straight home wins over Bucknell and Dayton, were well on their way to their 3rd straight win over Kennesaw State, taking the lead right before the end of the first half with a 29-yard touchdown pass to Wayne Capers from Dylan Beichel. Kennesaw State then scored 20 unanswered points, which eventually led to Duquesne's 36-28 loss, falling to 2-2 on the season. With a tough road matchup at Jacksonville this week before their bye week, Coach Schmidt is going to need to see more out of a defense that is far from a season ago. St. Francis' 4-game road trip to open the season was finally coming to an end with a trip up to number 22 Albany as they took on the Great Danes. As the game headed into the fourth quarter with the Red Flash up 9-3, it seemed like Coach Villarreal and his team were going to salvage the road trip with a second win and a 2-2 record. Then the fourth quarter came and with it brought 17 points and two teams heading in opposite directions. The one positive for the 1-3 Red Flash is that their home opener is against Malone, who helped fellow NEC team Robert Morris get in the win column this past weekend, who were winless heading into the game. Robert Morris was finally able to put up points in their home matchup, as I mentioned before, against fellow FCS team Malone, going up 21-6 early in the third quarter after an 81-yard Warren Robinson punt return for a touchdown. From here, the Colonials defense was able to hold on and win 21-19. At 1-3 in the season, Coach Banaszak's team travels to Lynchburg, Virginia to take on Liberty this weekend and look to be competitive heading into NEC play. Whoever wins this big matchup out at Hamlin Field on the island this weekend between Sacred Heart and Wagner will go a long way to determining who wins the NEC in 2016.